Winston Churchill said, and I quote, "We seem to be moving, drifting, steadily against our will, against the will of every race and every people and every class, towards some hideous catastrophe. Everyone wishes to stop it, but they do not know how." What do you think he was referring to?
Looking to the future, we can never connect those dots. We can extrapolate, but we can't actually connect them. We can do that when we look backwards, though. So if you look over the years, there's been many, many whistleblowers in different levels of government and military. I got Bill Cooper, I got Phil Schneider, I got Paul HELLYER, I got William Tompkins, rest in peace, and I got Edgar Mitchell. Let's hear them out.
You know that reptilians and Draco, you know, the blood sacrifices, the whole Luciferian thing, the kids being killed and eaten, I mean, that humans have been eaten and taken off planet, etc., and used for slaves in other colonies, etc.
I hate to say that, but that's far worse than what you've just said.
It's far worse.
Yes, far worse.
Far worse, yeah.
And that the whole blood situation is it's unbelievable, and
right.
I don't know how we say that to the public. To me, if we get into that, and I know all about it, okay?
All right.
Far more than you know.
Sure,
all right?
I'm sure.
When we get into that, if we release it, 70–80% of everybody that listens to your program is going to say, "You're smoking pot." I don't believe that, and I don't believe any of you people talk about on extraterrestrial. And it's going to kill what disclosure is trying to do.
I was involved in building another base inside of Dulce, New Mexico, which is Los Alamos Laboratory. We were in the process of the early stages of building. We drilled 4 large tunnel-like holes. Some of them ran 2.5 miles under the surface. Wells or drilling machines that were used were at the rate of 2 miles a day. It was fairly rapid. The equipment kept coming up broken. So we wanted to go down, we wanted to send somebody down there, a human observer, or human observers in this case, to find out what was going on. Well, in this process, I was lowered down the basket of one of these holes, and about from me to this elderly woman here in the front was sitting a 7-foot-tall alien gray. The stench was worse than the worst garbage can you can imagine. The person was or the entity was absolutely horrible. I didn't waste any time. I reached for my pistol. At that time, as an engineer, I didn't have time to carry all the folderol of one of these big submachine guns that all the sea spray and the yellow fruit and all the outer perimeter and inner perimeter security people carried. I carried a little Walther PPK pistol with a 9-shot clip. This was in late August of 1979. Now, you got a regular suit of clothes, you got a regular clothes on, plus you're in almost like a spacesuit environment, and you're reaching for a gun. It's not the easiest thing to do, and then to pop a clip in it and start shooting. And I killed 2 of them. Yes, they're mortal, and they do die. However, in the process, one of them did this. All I remember is that he just kind of waved his hand in front of his chest, and the next thing I know, this blue beam hit me and just literally opened me up like a fish, and burnt my fingers right off of me. And it was some form of electrical force, because the kind of like being hit by a lightning bolt burned all my toenails off of me. Completely crispy crittered my left foot. Broke the shoe right off. All I remember is the smoking remains, and I'm still conscious, but in and out of, I didn't remember much. And there was a Green Beret that was right behind me that risked his life. In fact, he died. But he risked his life. He shoved me back in the basket and hit the button and took me up. And I wouldn't be alive talking to you today if it wasn't for him. I'm forever indebted.
HELLYER, former Minister of Defense of Canada, and he believes that life forms from space exist and are present on Earth.
4 different species, at least, had been visiting this planet for thousands of years. So that's, we have a long history of UFOs, and of course, there's been a lot more activity in the last few decades since we invented the atomic bomb, and they're very concerned about that and the fact that we might use it again. And because the whole cosmos is a unity, and it affects not just us, but other people in the cosmos, they're very much afraid that we might be stupid enough to start using atomic weapons again, and this would be very bad for us and for them as well. I used to think there were, between 2 and 12, and Apollo astronaut Edgar Mitchell, who came to Toronto a few years ago and had dinner with us, agreed there was somewhere between 2 and 12. But the latest reports that I've been getting from various sources are that there are about 80 different species. And some of them look just like us, and they could walk down the street and you wouldn't know if you ran, walked past one. And they're what we call the Nordic blondes, and also the tall whites, who were actually working with the United States Air Force in Nevada. If you saw the short grays, you'd certainly know that there was something up that you'd never seen before. But if you saw one of the Nordic blondes, well, you'd probably say, oh, I wonder if she's from Denmark or somewhere,
We're not alone, and have for many, many years, even though, but at the time I went to the moon, it was the conventional wisdom, both in science and theology, that we were alone in the universe. Because of my openness to these things, I did have many of the old-timers in the military and in the intelligence community over the years wanting to get it off their chest before they passed away, allowed me to interview them and talk to them about it, to examine this alien or UFO phenomenon. They did come to the conclusion that it was alien, and the military rightly came to the conclusion, if they're hostile, there's nothing we can do about it. Therefore, their choice was to deny it and to hush it up and create the National Security Act of 1947, which validated that deception and covered it up and allowed the group to go underground, as it were. And we've been living with that now for 50 years. It is really the beginning of the whole cover-up, the entire denial of this phenomenon, and the addition of dismissal, disinformation, misinformation to cloak and to discourage investigation, to misinform. It's just been continuous for many, many years now.
It was decided that an outside group was necessary to coordinate and control international efforts in order to hide the secret from the normal scrutiny of governments by the press. The result was the formation of a secret society which became known as the Bilderbergers. The headquarters of this group is in Geneva, Switzerland. The Bilderbergers evolved into a secret world government that now controls everything.
The New World Order, the alien agenda, is one and the same. It's world takeover and the decimation of the population of this planet. There are 9 races of alien populations. To look at a human being as a bag of food. They're not cannibals. They don't eat the flesh and the bones and all that kind of stuff. They use the glandular secretions of animals and human beings as a mixture of the vitamins for their food. They get high off of our adrenal gland substances called adrenal chrome. It's something like cocaine to them. Now, what can we do about it? Right now, if we do nothing, we can do nothing about it, and it'll continue to go on. Basically, we'll be led in the dark, and you'll keep seeing more and more people disappear. Right now, there's 100,000 children totally unaccountable through FBI archives, cannot be traced anywhere. They haven't been murdered. Nobody's ever seen them. I think they're hauled underneath in some of these bases, and they are summarily done away with, and they are literally eaten.
It was learned that the aliens had been and were then manipulating masses of people through secret societies, witchcraft, magic, the occult, and religion. A major finding of the alien study was that the public could not be told, as it was believed that this would most certainly lead to economic collapse, collapse of the religious structure, and national panic, which would lead into anarchy. Another major finding was the aliens were using humans and animals for a source of glandular secretions, enzymes, hormonal secretions, blood, and in horrible genetic experiments. The aliens explained that they had created us through hybridization and had manipulated the human race through religion, Satanism, witchcraft, magic, the occult, secret societies, etc. I only have one message to give you. I don't care what you think of me. I don't care what you call me. I do care what you do with this information because it is important to our survival as a species. It's important to our planet. It is important for the world. What happens to me is of no consequence, and I knew that when I started this. And over the last 17 years, I knew that someday I was going to have to get up and say this whether I wanted to or not, whether I was afraid or not. Now I am here, and now it is done. And I feel an overwhelming relief. You now have the information. You can laugh at it. You can throw it in the trash can. You can burn my house down if you want to.
That was an
I am
accident.
telling you right now, your future, your children's future, your grandchildren's future depends upon what you do with this information.
And they would like to work with us to teach us better ways, but only, I think, with our consent. And they work through individuals, and they try and pick out individuals who won't be frightened to death of them.
Fucking stoned.